We are going to start the very first session of the symposium that would cover STIPs in India. We have some experts with us. I would like to request Auru Smita to come and give an introduction to Professor Haribabu. And I would also like to request Haribabu sir to come on the stage. You can come and sit here, sir. Yeah.
It is an honor and privilege for me to introduce Professor Haribabu. Professor Haribabu has earned his PhD from IIT Bombay. He taught at the School of Social Science and Humanities at IIT Kanpur in his early career. Later, Professor Haribabu joined the University of Hyderabad and he continued to serve as a professor at the Department of Sociology till 2009. He has taught science, technology, and society interface courses for many years. He has also served as an adjunct professor to the international program of the University of Iowa City, USA, from 2007 to 2013. He has been a consultant for 3 non-profit organizations in the areas of social dynamics relating to technology adoption. He has also served as an adjunct faculty at the Research and Information System for Developing Countries. Apart from his outstanding academic contribution, he has taken administrative responsibilities, like he has served as Dean School of Social Sciences from 2006 to 2009, Pro Vice Chancellor from 2011 September to January 2015, and Vice Chancellor in charge from January 2015 to May 2015 at University of Hyderabad. He is currently serving as visiting faculty at the SRM University, Andhra Pradesh. Over to you, sir.
I would like to invite Professor Krishna Ravi Srinivas to come on the stage. And Professor Raghav Reddy to come and share the stage. Yeah, introduction will be given by her. So I would like to call Harvey Newton to come and introduce Professor Krishna Ravi Srinivas.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and distinguished guests, it is my profound honor to introduce Dr. Krishna Ravi Srinivas, a luminary in the realms of science, technology, and innovation policy research. With a career spanning over 2 decades, Dr. Srinivas has carved a niche for himself as a vanguard in the study and governance of intellectual property rights, traditional knowledge, biotechnology, biodiversity, and the broader landscape of open innovation and commons. Currently serving as a consultant and the managing editor of the Asian Biotechnology and Development Review at the Research and Information System for Developing Countries, RIS, Dr. Srinivas's work is a testament to his dedication to fostering a nuanced understanding of how science and technology intersects with society's development and ethical considerations. Under his stewardship, the Asian Biotechnology and Development Review has grown into a pivotal platform for discourse on biotechnology and sustainable development, indexed in Scopus for its scholarly impact. Dr. Srinivas's academic journey is marked by prestigious affiliations, including his role as a visiting scholar at the University of Pennsylvania and Indiana University, Bloomington, as a Fulbright scholar, and his contributions as a postdoctoral fellow at the South Center in Geneva. His tenure as a visiting faculty at the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, further underscores his commitment to educating the next generation of thinkers and policymakers. Holding a PhD from the National Law School of India University, Bangalore, Dr. Srinivas has enriched the academic and policy research landscape with his extensive publications, including articles in refereed journals, book-length reports, and insightful contributions to edited volumes. His work, deeply rooted in a passion for exploring the socio-economic dimensions of technology and innovation, has significantly influenced policy dialogues and career directions, both nationally and internationally. In addition to his remarkable career, Dr. Krishna Ravi Srinivas holds the position of adjunct professor at Nalsara University of Law, Hyderabad. As we gather today, we look forward to Dr. Srinivas's contributions to our symposium, confident that his insights will illuminate the ethical, legal, and policy challenges we face in harnessing science and technology for the betterment of society. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Krishna Ravi Srinivas.
Dr. Ipsita Roy is online with us. I would like to call upon Reshma to give a brief introduction of Dr. Ipsita Roy.
It's my great pleasure to introduce one of the renowned figure in the field of STI to the session. I would like to invite Dr. Ipsita Roy, who is joining us online today to the session. Dr. Roy is a faculty at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences in IIT Rourkela. She has been a postdoctoral fellow at TST CPR IIT Delhi. Dr. Roy has completed her PhD on the economics of innovative change from Friedrich Schiller University, Jena, Germany. Her research interests lie in the economics of innovation, STI policies, national and regional innovation systems, industrial research and development, and absorptive capacity. She has been awarded with the MA Faculty Advisor Appreciation Award at NIT Rourkela twice. She has also published several articles and books on science, technology, and innovation. Now, I request Dr. Roy to present her views with respect to her work and experiences in the field. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, am I visible and audible?
Ma'am, we will be asking you to join for your session just after some time, ma'am.
Sure, absolutely.
If you can give us a little bit more time. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sure.
Now, I would like to request Ramesh to give a brief introduction of Professor C. Raghav Reddy.
It is my great honor and pleasure to introduce Professor C. Raghav Reddy. Professor Raghav Reddy is a senior professor in the Department of Sociology at the University of Hyderabad. So he served as the head of the department for 3 years from 2020 to 2023. He is also a co-PA of DST, CPR, University of Hyderabad. He teaches research methods and science and technology society studies, call it as STS studies. In the STS studies, he covers broadly the social scientist engagement with science and technology is not limited to the impact of science and technology and society. Rather, critically engaging with the scholarship in this field highlights the social embeddedness and cultural conditioning of science and technological innovations. His research focuses on social shaping of technology, SST, and sociology of scientific knowledge. Within the broad area of STS studies, his specific areas of interest including climate change, biotechnology, agriculture, information and communication technologies, digital technologies and digital economies and organizations. He also deals with the sociology of disability studies. Disability is, as a social category draws attention of sociologists to understand the social process of exclusion, discrimination, and oppression. He has been researching on disability for many years, focused on issues of identity, access, participation, assistive technologies, and employment of persons with disabilities. Professor published many areas of articles, many research articles in various journals. The list is huge. He also writes to various newspapers such as Hindu Business Line, Telangana Today, and many other newspapers. News articles also published on various digital platforms. His research publications covers biotechnology and the industrialization of horticulture in India, crop sciences in the agrarian structure, STI policies and grassroots innovations in India, and climate change, census data in disability discourse, role of ICTs in sustainable agriculture, technological innovations and social change, disability and social exclusion. He also worked on so many projects like Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, ESAGU with the IT-driven project, collaboration with IIIT Hyderabad, also with BDL and BEL project, sociological study and disability, and ethnographic account of cultivation practice among Gonds of Andhra Pradesh, and so many. So I'm happy to read his bio. Finally, we're proud to be his students and Department of Sociology. Thank you so much.
I would like to request Professor Raghav Reddy to please come on the stage and join with our speakers. Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, Raghav, sir. So, now I would like to request Professor E. Haribabu to give his views on S&T policies with respect to our country. Please come.
Yeah, it's just about good afternoon. It's past 12. We're already late by half an hour. So I'm very happy to be here with all of you. And I was associated with the university for nearly 30 years. So Professor Raghav, Professor Ravi, Professor Manohar, and all other participants and student friends, it's really pleasure to be with you and share my thoughts on this topic. My topic is going to be academia in the innovation ecosystem in India. So, where's this file? Yeah, before I start, I'm basically a university person. So my views will be from the point of view of university in the innovation ecosystem. And we have seen Rishikesh speaking about the academia industry collaboration and challenges, which I'm going to also talk about in the presentation. And let's see, as students, we would like to start with our discussion on any topic with a definition of the phenomenon we're going to study. So what is innovation, right? Innovation is a new product or process or service based on new knowledge, it's invention, or combination of elements of existing knowledge, and these products, processes gets into the market. So I think innovation has a very important kind of it draws heavily from existing knowledge or new knowledge, and that's why we are concerned about discussing and about its impact on the economic development of any society. See, if you look at where was this knowledge being produced earlier, right? Historically, the loci of knowledge production were places of learning, like universities. Universities existed in most of the civilizations. Like in our country, we had Nalanda University, Takshashila University. European countries had universities, and China had its own universities. However, they focused more on philosophy, literature, law, and medicine, etc. Right? In Europe, natural sciences was introduced in 18th century. 19th century to be precise. So in Britain, natural science curriculum was introduced in the universities in 1852 to face the competition from France, which was already on the way to become industrial power. In Britain, steam engine was developed by James Watson in collaboration with Michael Bolton as a businessman, which is outside the university framework. Now, there's been a debate over the role of universities. So what is this debate all about? See, the universities before scientific revolution tended to teach, as I said, subjects like law, medicine, theology, etc. Many scientists who made revolutionary claims not to annoy the church, mentioned that the claims about nature were only to understand power of God. Isaac Newton did this, and several others, right? So the theological knowledge was later replaced by the empiricist theory of knowledge of Francis Bacon and rationalist theory of René Descartes later on. So the scientific revolution basically was based on contributions of three people, to start with: Isaac Newton, Kepler, and Galileo, right? So you know what kind of a problem Galileo went through because he annoyed church by saying that Earth rotates around the sun. Okay, and there is a debate over the role of universities. Till very even now it goes on. And one side of it argues that universities' task is to disseminate knowledge and produce knowledge. The knowledge thus generated was seen as a public resource. University is not supposed to get into the business of, producing knowledge which is patentable and so on. Their job is to basically educate and also in the process produce knowledge. The second side of the debate, which has become more vocal recently, is that universities should become entrepreneurial universities. And the knowledge generated to be sold for a price, right? This is the kind of paradigm that is slowly influencing the university culture. And I think that's what creates a lot of tensions in the university setting, right? Current LOSEF knowledge production, I think there are a couple of models in sociology, social sciences, which talk about the innovation. One is a triple helix model, which is developed by Hershkovich and Ladisdorff, 2009. They suggest that historically, it is the academia which produced knowledge, like universities, and later industrial enterprises started producing knowledge. The government began to support the industrial growth through policy interventions. The trio, academia, industry, government, constitute the triple helix. They work in coordination to produce innovations. Triple helix model is also a policy-making tool. And triple helix organizes annual meetings. Perhaps those of you who are interested can check it out on the net. You also can attend the meetings. Then that's the book from which this quotation is drawn. Triple helix model, role of government, basically to produce or to provide appropriate policy framework, research funding, incentives for innovation, etc. For example, Bayh-Dole Act of 1980 in the US. According to this act, all federally funded research, all government-supported research in the universities must be licensed to entrepreneurs for a fees, right? That means their knowledge can be transferred to industry. And this happened, they transferred it to many small, medium-scale industries. And it is a time when a lot of universities started the technology transfer offices. They evolved norms of how to share the kind of money that is gotten by the university by selling this or licensing this technology. And there was a kind of a share that inventor, the scientist who invented or produced the idea, which has application potential, was given certain percentage of the share, certain percentage went to university, and so on. So basically, role of academia is production of knowledge, inventions, new concepts, and so on. Industry or entrepreneurs, their job is to scale up prototype products and mass production of products or processes for the market. So basically, entrepreneur is the one who looks for ideas so that he can produce some product out of these ideas, right? So I think there are famous examples like British universities followed the model of the first kind, where they thought university's job is to only to produce knowledge. In this context, Margaret Thatcher once said, British scientists produce knowledge, but American entrepreneurs make money out of this knowledge, right? So I think, so Americans were quite smart in looking for this kind of knowledge to produce things. So, for example, J.R.D. Tata, some people he was asked once, how do you manage to mobilize money for starting industry? He said, look, if I have 5 rupees in my pocket, I raise 95 rupees from the market, right? So that's how entrepreneurs try to mobilize funds and start industries. So basically, they depend quite a lot, or they draw ideas from the academia, earlier at least. But today, many industrial enterprises have their own R&D labs, their own kind of new products. They produce their own products. So this triple helix model also talks of hybrid roles. For example, today it's possible for a scientist in a university to become an entrepreneur, right? No, it's also the kind of this kind of act produced a lot of TBIs, technology business incubators, research parks, technology parks, and so on in the US. We did some work in the University of Iowa, one of the TBIs. There is a variant of this. They call it quadruple helix model. Building on the triple helix model, this model adds a fourth component to the framework of triple helix. Interactions between university, industry, and government, which includes public consisting of civil society and the media. So this is a variant, maybe later development. And there's one more kind of a theory which talks of mode 2 production. The third model is the mode 2 production and innovation, according to which the knowledge production has been shifting to R&D divisions of private industrial corporations. So of late, one notices involvement of non-governmental organizations also in knowledge production, which we may call mode 3 production, or equivalent of quadruple helix model. It is, it indicates that the role of university is changing, especially in the wake of the WTO provisions on IPRs. Science, which hitherto was a public resource, has now become a commodity. Today, scientists tend to do research that has potential for patenting. So I think you see the kind of a slow shift that is taking place, but this shift is not without tensions, right? Innovation ecosystem in India. According to Government of India sources, India is the 5th largest economy in the world today. India has democratic governance. The country is one of the first countries to announce science policy way back in 1958. This is Scientific Policy Resolution. Since then, the policy has been continuously revised. 1983 Technology Policy Statement, and latest 2013, the Science Technology Innovation Policy. So basically, government has been trying to provide a policy framework for scientific and technological activities and innovations. Especially, this becomes important after India became a signatory to the WTO. So I think it's very, very important to look at these developments. Now, why Rishikesh Krishnan also was saying, somebody asked the question, why India was lagging behind in industrial development and so on. So if you look at the history of India's industrial strategy of industrial development, just soon after independence, we did not have technology, we did not have capital, so we imported technologies from the West. And later on, we moved to import substitution, right? That means you import a product and see whether you can develop a substitute for this. Then 1980s, we adopted a strategy of import in order to export. That is, you import technologies, produce products, and export them, right? So I think because of these strategies, the industry-academia interaction was not taking place as much as should have been, right? So that's why the industry was free to import technologies. There were no incentive to go to universities for technological solutions, nor were universities under pressure to sort of interact with industry. So challenges in the wake of WTO provisions. It's difficult to secure latest technology, and that's why we are supposed to develop technologies all by ourselves. As I said, India has become a signatory to IPRs in 2005. India replaces the 1970 Patent Act, which was a process patent act. The new patent regime covers both processes and products. The 1970 Act enabled India to become a major player in the pharmaceutical world by producing bulk drugs. India is one of the leading players in the pharmaceutical world in India because of the 1970 Act. So now we are governed by the latest Process and Product Patent Act. I'm sure Ravi will have a lot of things to say about this. Now, the emphasis on innovation, encouragement to startups, establishment of TBIs, etc. Patents are important criteria for promotions in the universities. Now, this is also emerging as one of the important developments in the university culture now. So India's research basically in public sector especially is carried out by various scientific councils, national scientific councils like Indian Council of Agricultural Research, which has 40 laboratories, research institutes. Hyderabad has 3-4 of them actually. Directorate of Rice Research and Pulses and Millets and so on. Indian Council of Medical Research has 33 research institutes. Indian Council of Scientific and Industrial Research has over 40 laboratories and about 6,000 scientists. Apart from this, there are mission-oriented institutions like DAE, Department of Atomic Energy, ISRO, Department of Ocean Development, and so on. And DRDO labs, which are basically dedicated to military research, defense research. Councils and mission-oriented institutions appropriate major share of public funds, and that cuts into the allocation for the universities. So we have 720 universities in India today, both in public and private sectors. Public sector universities include, of course, central universities. Every state has one central university now, in addition to universities supported by each of the state governments. Private universities were established by due process of approval by the UGC and the central and state governments. They have become very, very important players now. And they are also competing for research funds, competing with public universities for research funds with funding agencies like DST, DBT, and so on. And some of them are succeeding to get large funds, whereas public universities cannot go anywhere else, so they have to approach these funding agencies. The national research councils and universities that are supported by public funds have not evolved strategies of collaboration and synergy on a systematic basis. So all the research institutes of the councils, so they are located in Hyderabad. There are several of them. Hyderabad is a big hub for research institutes like CSR institutes. There are NGRI, there is CCMB, there is IICT, right? And ICR institutes, 4 or 5 of them. But they don't really interact because they're, as Rishikesh was saying, their rules are different, their norms are different. They will not be able to collaborate. Similarly, universities, we have 4 of them in the city. Our university, Usmania University, then there is Open University, there is Urdu University. Where is the collaboration? We don't seem to interact with each other, right? So publications and patents are indicators of our scientific capabilities, and patents are indicators of innovation. India's research output publication has increased by 2.5 times from 60,555 papers in 2010 to 1,49,213 papers in 2020, according to National Science Foundation database of USA. India's growth of scientific publications was 9.5% as against world average of 4.3 during the 2010 and 20 as per NSF database. India's share in global research publications output has increased over the years. Okay, so that is that can be seen from the databases. And India is ranked ahead of many developed countries, including BRIC countries, except China, right? So if you look at one report produced by NSTMIS of the DST, NSTMIS is the division of DST, which publishes the R&D statistics every year almost. From 2017 onward, 2017-18 onwards, annual growth rate of GDP, R&D, GDP R&D expenditure almost remained same. Growth rate of, as a percentage of R&D expenditure as percentage of GDP remained almost constant. I think at this stage, I would like to open another file. Can I do that? Yes. Yeah. So let me show you some of the data for you, which Rishikesh also shared with you. I'll come back to this later. That will show clearly trend. This is a report, R&D statistics produced by the NSTMIS of DST. Not opening. Sorry for the interruption. I'll quickly go through this. Okay, if it's not opening, forget about it. So research and development statistics, this report is produced by, as I said, NSTMIS of DST. Okay. Okay, let me quickly go through this. Yeah. These are pictorial representations of moving. Sorry, I'm okay. It should not be taking a lot of time. Not opening? Okay, this one, okay. So look at this. This data shows R&D expenditure and GDP. In absolute terms, shown as a consistent raising trend over the years. But if you look at the pictorial representations, you'll see shows decline both GDP and that is called as a percent of expenditure on R&D or as percent of GDP, right? And if you look at this slide, you will see GERD is gross expenditure on R&D, and it will show that the central government spends about 43%, that is nearly 50%, and the private sector spends about spends about 36.4%. State governments and higher education sector spends about 8%. So that is, you'll see the trend that is increasingly the gross expenditure on R&D is being incurred by private industries, private sector, right? What does it mean? That means more private industrial enterprises are focusing on R&D. Basically, they would like to produce knowledge which is patentable, which can be patented and according to patent law, according to IPRs, if you have a patent, nobody else can produce that knowledge, use that knowledge without permission or without compensating the patent holder for about 15 to 20 years, depends on the product, right? So I think there's a gradual trend moving towards private sector. If you see another, which this picture, Rishikesh also showed this picture to you. See, if you look at this, I would like to show one more, and that's the end of it. So publications has been increasing as it were over the years. And if you look at this distribution of R&D institutions in India, you see R&D institutions include universities, R&D establishments of industry and private foundations and colleges, universities and so on. See, today we have private sector as 66% of R&D institutions, and the state sector has 13%, central sector is 8%, universities constitute 11%, and public sector 2%. So you see the shift, you see the increasing number of R&D institutions in the private enterprises. Basically, it's a post-2005 development after India joined the WTO and development of IPRs. So I think these are the important features I wanted to share with you. And as you see, the trend is already shifting towards more and more private sector. Yeah, I'd like to go back to the other slide quickly. So I'll take another 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, maybe. The first one. Okay. Yeah, the slides already showed you the gross expenditure on R&D, mainly driven by the government sector, comprising central government and so on. So I'd like to move on. During 2021-22, a total of 66,440 patents were filed in India, out of which 29,508, 44% patents were filed by Indian residents. The remaining were filed by the foreign companies or foreign residents. It means the foreign companies which established their R&D centers in India, they've been filing more patents, not only from India, but also from outside. You can file patent anywhere in the world today. The Indian, the patent applications filed by India are dominated by disciplines like computer science, electronics, mechanical engineering, communication, biomedical sciences, and so on. You see, these areas are emerging as important areas for basically producing products and processes, right? So if you look at the percentage of GDP spent on R&D in select countries, India spent only 0.64%. It normally revolved around 0.8 to 0.64, right? Which is one of the lowest in the compared to other countries. BRICS countries, Brazil spends 1.3% of its GDP on R&D. Russian Federation 1.1, China 2.4%, South Africa 0.6%, and the ratio was 0.3% for Mexico. Most of the developed countries spent more than 2% of their gross domestic product on R&D. So this is a very, very critical input, because if you don't have support, enough economic support, what kind of quality of work can one do, right? What kind of quality of science one can do, or technology one can do. And it's a very important kind of factor that people have been arguing for increasing this kind of percent of GDP spent on R&D for several years, but it remains less than 1%. As I said, 64% of the gross expenditure on R&D was incurred by private sector. So I showed you the pie diagram recently. In the last picture, the pie diagram shows 64% of GERD spent by private sector. It's clear that the government GERD is falling behind private sector. Perhaps this trend is because, as I said, of the IPRs. The private sector enterprises like software development companies, pharma companies are involved in producing more and more patentable knowledge with an eye on making patents. What about the universities? They lag behind GERD and filing patents, except a few universities. So very few universities are involved in producing knowledge that is patentable. The rest of the universities, I don't know what kind of teaching goes on there, except a few universities and IITs. Many state-funded universities have serious problems of faculty, serious problems of infrastructure. They're not able to even do that basic science teaching, basic science knowledge production. Today, we are talking of startup companies in the changed context. Startup companies set up by young graduates have become part of the innovation landscape today. We have 61,400 startups in the country. As of 3rd October 23, India is home to 101 unicorns, with a total valuation of US $349.67 billion. The unicorn is a company which has a turnover of over 1 billion, right? So this is celebrated now that we have so many unicorns. However, we'll have to see how many startups will survive and succeed. The startups located in TBI's technology hubs like T-Hub is a Telangana hub, tend to run into scientific and technological problems. There is a need for startups to interact with the universities for scientific and technological expertise to solve and overcome bottlenecks. So they get into problem. Some of them give up and leave. And some of the startup companies, because they're not able to do well, funding agencies withdraw funding and so on. They get into a lot of trouble, right? So let me take a couple of minutes to finish this. India has made significant achievements so far in the area of agriculture. We have reached self-sufficiency in food grain production from the so-called ship-to-mouth economy of early 60s. We moved to self-sufficiency food production, and also we export wheat and rice to other countries. Space program, Chandrayaan is an important achievement which we all should be proud of. And this was carried out by ISRO. Nuclear energy, we built capabilities to build atomic reactors and generate power. Pharmaceuticals, India is a leader in bulk drug production today and vaccines, right? But what should universities do now? Universities also have to reform their norms, the governance structures, especially the administration finance management in the changing conditions to accommodate TBI startups and to help interact with the universities and so on. And norms of collaboration with industries, more autonomy to scientists in utilizing the research funds. I think today the whole context is changing. Some people tell me scientists cannot use their research funds with some degree of autonomy. There is a lot of finance control over it, which I think should change. So that's why industry is scared of coming to universities, because industry wants their consultation, whatever results they want in a time frame, but universities, because of bureaucracy, they take a longer time to address these questions and address this problem, and the industry doesn't want to go to universities because of these delays. And in changing context, there is need for universities to change. The GRD in the case of public sector R&D has remained stagnant. I'm concluding remarks. And whereas in private sector, it has been growing. Public universities have shown relatively low GRD expenditure. This trend needs to be examined to find out underlying causes so that appropriate policy interventions can be evolved. There is a need for public participation in addition to so-called public-private partnership, which Rishikesh said is sometimes difficult to sort of execute. Whereas public-public partnership is still possible because they all come under the same umbrella of the government and same kind of rules. As shown earlier, the public sector R&D institutes built up relatively high levels of have a long history, and they developed reasonable infrastructure. Some of the institutions delivered, as in the case of agriculture, public health, and so on. So I think public R&D institutions such as CSIR, ICR, ICMR institutions must actively collaborate with public universities to leverage their infrastructure, student population, and faculty members. I think the situation is changing. It can't be business as usual. Universities also must really undergo change and change the norms to sort of get into this changing context, right? So I stop here. Thank you very much.